The Gemara discusses the downside of the speech of the friends of Eov, Job's friends. And some of them were saying to Eov, in the famous book of suffering in Tanakh, they were implying or maybe saying directly, Eov, you know why you're suffering? Because you weren't so pious. Because surely if you were more pious, you wouldn't suffer. Says the Gemara, if someone sees someone going through difficulties, challenges, vicissitudes, and they speak to them in the way that the friends of Eov spoke to Eov, perhaps you're not so religious. Imayu yisurim ba'im alav, imayu chalaim ba'im alav, o shayam mekaberet al yomalo, kederach shamrulo chaverav li'Eov. I don't think it's one of the most significant aspects of life, to be able to catch a bull, but it surely helps in terms of social levels of being accepted. So this gentleman was unfortunately nicknamed Butterfingers. Now Butterfingers, that was his name. Everyone else had a name. There were 25 people in the class, and his name was Butterfingers, because every time he was playing any kind of ball, he couldn't catch it. You know, and it was so painful. You know, it was so painful. And you know, and when people were challenged, how do you have the nerve? Call someone Butterfingers? Oh, not Devarim. Wait, that's he has a name. No, he doesn't really mind. Everybody calls him by this name.
What if he really doesn't mind?
How do you know if he really doesn't mind?
You ask him.
Do you think that what a person says is what they really necessarily feel inside? Let's say Butterfingers has been called Butterfingers for the last 3.5 years, and he's worried about, he's worried about his social status. Maybe some people will not tell you what they really feel. You think people who are very short don't mind being called shrimp, or people very tall being called, I don't know, giant, or
somebody cripple? They call him the cripple. What is it? She used to tell them. She said, and you call him a cripple? You are an emotional cripple.
That's not
yes, if you talk this way, you are emotional cripple.
To make fun of a person's physical features or emotional features or religious features, and this is part of it. You know, I think even to call people by the color of their hair. You know, are you allowed to call someone red or gingy? Gingy, you know. I mean, someone should write an article in the Torah view of gingyhood. You know, like even when I was privileged, Baruch Hashem, to move to Eretz Yisrael many years ago. Thank God. So I remember it was one of the first weeks that I was here, and I had the privilege of meeting with some Israeli, and he asked me, "Ech korim lecha?" What's your name? I said, Mordechai. He said, oh, Mati. Mati. I said, no, not lo Mati. Mordechai, Mati, Marishma Mati. Now, I don't really, so I said, I tried explaining to him, no, my name is not Mati. Now, are you allowed to call someone whose name is Mordechai? Are you allowed to call someone whose name is Mordechai? Are you allowed to call him Mati?
Masi.
I think that you have to
Ask him.
You have to question this. Some people are very
against him.
Maybe some people it doesn't make a difference to them. It says in the Gemara, in Masechet Megillah, Tractate Megillah, they asked a certain great rabbi. His name is Rabbi Zera. They asked Rabbi Zera, could you please share with us some of the activities that you feel contributed spiritually to the fact that you were blessed with a long life? There was a special blessing of longevity in Rabbi Zera's life. What did you do? And one of the things he says is,
what did he say?
Velo karati lachaveri b'chachinato v'amri la b'chanichato. I never called my friend by any nickname. I never used nicknames. I called people by the way that they're supposed to be called, and to hurt people with suggestive comments, to remind them of certain kinds of sins. In the Gemara in Bava Metzia, they speak about how King David, was involved with some kind of problematic behavior with Bathsheba. And they record here how certain people in the community never wanted to let him forget it. And no matter what he was discussing, they record here a discussion about how he was teaching a certain topic. And in the middle, unrelated to what they're studying, excuse me, could you please tell us, what is the punishment exactly for someone who has relations with a married woman? So he said, well, maybe there's a very serious punishment, and he quoted the punishment. He says, but that person has a section in the world to come. but the person that embarrasses someone else publicly does not have a section in the world to connect. One of the most important teachings about Ona'at Devarim is being careful not to cause people to cry. Sometimes you say something and you're hurting them. We just spoke about embarrassing people. The rabbis say it's compared to spilling blood. It's compared to murder. Sometimes a person, literally, the blood in their face is being spilled. They're turning pale, they're turning colors. One great teaching here, which perhaps is overlooked in certain parts of the world, is a teaching of Rav, who teaches that a person should be especially careful. A person should be especially careful with not saying words that are painful to their spouses. Rav said to all of the husbands in the world, Amar Rav, La'olam yehei adam zahir ba'ona'at ishto. A person should be especially careful with not hurting his own wife. Rav says be very careful. Not only with everybody else out there in the world. There's some people who are very, very sensitive to everybody else, but they forget about their own spouse. I had a great teacher, blessed memory. His name is Rav Moshe Leiter. And he taught me over and over again. He said, whenever you read a statement in the Talmud or in the Midrash, don't just study the statement, but analyze who is the person, who is the author of that statement. Study the rabbi who is saying it, because very often when you study the name of the rabbi, you'll gain further insight into the teaching. The Gemara says elsewhere, in Yevamot, Rav had a very, very difficult marriage. Rav hava kamitza'ara le divitahu. His wife caused him suffering. His wife caused him pain. And his wife tormented him. And there are examples in the Gemara about anything he wanted, she would always do the opposite. If he was interested in A, so she would pursue B. If she was interested in B, if he was interested in B, she would pursue A. So in fact, the rabbi's team said maybe when his son got older and figured out that maybe he should use reverse psychology on his mother. So he did that, and she ended up doing what Rav wanted. So Rav said, "Oh, you see, she's improving." She's not improving. I just changed the story. He said, "No, don't do that. Don't do that. It's lying." Maybe a person would think if a person is married to the most wonderful woman in the world, the most dedicated woman in the world, the most loving woman in the world, the most cooperative woman in the world, the most responsive woman in the world. Okay, so such a person, I have to be careful what I say. But if I'm married to such a woman as the wife of Rav, so maybe a person can be lenient in this area. Maybe it doesn't apply. And perhaps, therefore, it's significant that it specifically is Rav who's teaching this. Amar Rav! Rav teaches it. Rav understood that it's difficult sometimes. But nevertheless, a person has to be careful. La'olam. That maybe it says, La'olam yehei adam zahir. Always a person should be careful with ona'at ishto. Be very careful with the way you speak to your spouse. Always. It means always, no matter what kind of marriage you're having. May all the marriages in the world be beautiful and happy and healthy and sweet. Yes?
I think it says also in the Gemara that a husband who stays with a difficult wife gets to live a long life and go straight to Gan Eden when he dies.
So maybe that could be the... I was always looking to explain a kaf schut. How could we give Rebbetzin Rav the benefit of the doubt? I was always looking for this. So Rav Banish suggests maybe Rebbetzin Rav was trying to spare her husband any connection to any negativity. So since he had to suffer with her, so maybe he would never see the I don't know how to understand this. This Gemara needs clarification. Whatever it means, in some sources they say when on Erev Yom Kippur, the day before Yom Kippur, it says he's supposed to ask forgiveness. He's supposed to ask mechila if you hurt anyone. So some people walk around to everyone they know, to their rabbis, to their teachers, to their neighbors. And one of the great Sephardic commentaries writes, but don't forget that maybe one of the people that you should ask forgiveness from is your own spouse, is your own family. Because maybe your own father, your own mother, your own brother, your own sister, your own son, your own daughter, your own husband or your own wife. Maybe very, very often we're lenient in the way we carry out the laws of Ona'at Torah. May God strengthen all of us and elevate our speech to the highest level of holiness so that we can fulfill V'lo tonu ishet amito v'yareta me'elokecha. May all of the speech be beautiful, happy, encouraging, empowering speech, and through the great speech to each other, may we all reach higher and higher levels of spiritual attainment. Thank you so much for listening. Shalom. Okay.
Good, thank you.
We don't have a minyan. I mean, we have half a minyan. So,
6. Michael Sharon.
we have some food though. We have food.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And nooit in deze challah.
So give me the halabi knife. Give me the halabi knife and I'll open it.
I just need the cactus one.
This is it, right? HaShavua, the yellow one?
No,
Yeah? Can I open it with this?